making tea, and I thought today I'd just answer some questions that people have been asking me. Real questions from real comments. So let's start. Originally I'm from Canada. Tea time in the afternoon is a real thing. And one of my favorite teas that I enjoy these days is this hot cinnamon spice tea. It's got a little sweetness, a little cinnamon. So can a family still do things together after the divorce, or is that just unrealistic? I think that every family is different. I have met some families that they still go on holidays together years after the divorce. And I've met some other families that he and her can't be in the same room together ever. Pendulum swing. If you've got children, you're going to overlap no matter what. When I first was divorced, I just wanted to cut, remove, keep moving forward in my life. But when you have kids, your life just overlaps. Whether you want it to or not, you're going to overlap. I have 9 kids. We're going to just keep overlapping over and over again for decades, as long as we both shall live. For me, when we first separated and divorced, my ex stayed in the marital home. And I went back to the home for Christmases because I really wanted to subdue the effect on my kids post-divorce. That was a sacrifice for me that I did until I realized I had to start drawing boundaries. To me, it was like I had this scab that was healing, and then I'd go back to the marital home, stay in the basement guest room, and it was like this scab just got ripped off each time. But that's what I chose to do at that time in the divorce. I had to draw boundaries and say, no, I can't do that anymore moving forward. I don't really want to do holidays with my ex-husband and his girlfriend. That's not a fun time for me. I still have triggers. There's still some hurt. Yeah, I just don't want to. So we had a wedding in 2025 in Trinidad and Tobago. I worked with a life coach and prepared all year because I wanted to go to this wedding, show up for my son, and be 1,010% there for him, not for me. I didn't want my ambiguous losses or just the triggers of grief popping in and robbing me of my joy as the mother of the groom or overflowing into the people around me. I met my ex-husband's girlfriend for the first time at that wedding. So it took a lot of intention. I did a lot of work so I could go to that wedding, show up just how I wanted to, and it actually turned out to be the best it possibly could have been. And then we've got graduations. My number 7 just graduated in May. My ex is sitting way over there in the auditorium with a pile of kids. I'm sitting over here and I've got a few kids. And there's just a moment of grief that caught me when he was a toddler and he was growing up. This is not how I envisioned his graduation. But here we are, this broken family, and this is what it is. At the end, we stood in a circle and acknowledged each other. But I think also for me, finances. If you're still paying alimony or getting alimony, there's money still going between you and him. I think especially for the man, it muddies the water. There's this underwriting tension and financial stuff happening behind the scenes that no one else knows about except you and him. Then coming together to celebrate a holiday with this behind the scenes stuff going on, it's not necessarily fun. Every family's different. Is it unrealistic? No, it's up to you. You make your choices, you draw your boundaries. You may try something one year like I did for the Christmases, and then finally you get to a place and just go, this is more damaging to me than it is worth doing it for trying to pull the family together. Sometimes you don't know that until you've done it. That's my take on it. I think everybody's different, and you try something, and if it doesn't work, you don't have to do it again. You don't owe anybody anything, including your kids, to be hurt on an emotional level like that. I think it's important as a parent to show up if you can show up to things, but you don't have to celebrate a holiday together. I came in for that graduation. I was there for my son, but I did not go back to the marital home for the graduation celebration. Yeah, that would have messed me up, but I didn't need to do that. The next question is, how do you know the difference between healthy compromise and losing yourself again now that you're dating or in a new relationship? For me, dating was an avenue for me to learn about myself and about my brokenness after my divorce. I didn't just all of a sudden get divorced and go, okay, now I know all my problems and I move forward. I was with the same man for 36 years. That was a long time. It was when I was dating that I, started noticing I was picking similar personality styles, which I needed to break that habit. I picked a man to marry for 36 years who was incapable of loving me well because that's what I was familiar with. I recognized even on a dating app, I was looking for people subconsciously that were narcissists. I was able to break that pattern. But here's the thing, when it comes to the idea of compromise, I didn't know I was a people pleaser until I started dating again and I started seeing myself doing these patterns in a new context with a new person. I'm thinking, what the heck? I had no idea. The marriage had just hidden it because it looked like I was just being a good wife under the context of marriage. I remember specifically my partner Ben, early on in the dating, maybe 2 months into it, long distance relationship, and he really liked to spend time on the phone. Honestly, I'm not a phone call kind of person. I'll take one, but it's not my natural way that I enjoy communicating. He used to like doing phone calls. So it became, first of all, it was random, and then it started becoming more consistent, and then I'd start noticing at the end of the day, just as I was getting ready to sit down and relax and have a little me time, my phone would ring. And it was Ben. At first I would pick it up, and then I started 6 weeks into it. I actually started getting a little resentful. I was like, ugh, I really didn't want to feel like that. This was somebody I fell in love with. I didn't want to be feeling when he called. So I started figuring out, why do I feel this way? And I realized I had been answering the phone on a regular basis because I was a people pleaser and I knew he wanted to do that. And I never really acknowledged the fact that I don't like that. That's not my way I want to stay in communication. I had to work through that. He didn't understand at first, but then he was open and he was understanding. We were able to start figuring out how to compromise. We wanted to stay in touch to this long distance relationship. Let's see if there's other ways that diluted the phone calls from a regular basis. And we still, 4.5 years later, we still juggle how we get in communication. And when he calls on the phone, I don't go, because it's not this regular, everyday, 1 hour long occurrence. We did come with a healthy compromise. You don't need to lose yourself and only have one person's needs visible. Learning how to pay attention to what the other person might need when it's not exactly what you need, but you don't have to sacrifice yourself completely to be finding a happy medium in the middle. It stretched me also to be able to learn to give in a place that it really wasn't doing it for me, where I didn't feel like it was completely sacrificial and it was just completely doing something that wasn't me. Okay, last question for today. This is one that is something that most people don't say out loud. Do I still matter once my role in the family changes? I chose to stay home and raise my 9 children. Home educated them. I was home for 30 plus years. I was the epicenter of the family. I was involved with everything and everybody all the time, so much so that I lost myself in the midst of all that. That became my purpose, taking care of my family, being there for my children, raising my children, always being needed for something. I poured myself into that. When I found myself on the other side, and my marriage had fallen apart, I'm getting a divorce, and I find myself now alone 50% of the time, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm wondering, do I even matter anymore? And the interesting thing is that I didn't really ask that question right away. I didn't want to think about those kinds of things, because thinking about the question, do I still matter to my family? Do I still matter to my children? And I'm not saying, do my kids still love me? That's a completely different question. Do I still matter? That was a question that was very painful and difficult to ask myself, because at that moment, I really didn't think I did. I matter in a different way now. I matter to these children differently, but I had to learn to adapt to that new feeling, because I was used to being in the middle of everything. And now all of a sudden I wasn't. I was 50% mom. So I didn't think I had any purpose in my children's lives anymore. And that was a really hard pill to swallow. If you are all of a sudden an empty nester and your children are now gone and you tied yourself into raising your children, you don't even have to have a divorce to start wondering, what's my purpose now? Who am I now? Do I matter to my children anymore? Because they need you differently now, if hardly at all, but they need you in a different way. And that's part of letting go as well. Unfortunately, with divorce, it can happen earlier. That's definitely one for women to come together and share their heart on, because of course you matter. But sometimes it's hard to know where we matter. So that's all I've got for today. If you've got a question, leave it below. And the next time, maybe we'll get a chance to answer that one.